Greta Thunberg and 170 other activists from the Gaza Aid Flotilla have been released from detention in Israel and deported. Shortly before we came on air, Greta Thunberg landed at Athens airport and addressed a crowd of supporters.
They're not even able to prevent the worst war crimes from happening. And I will never, ever comprehend how humans can be so evil that you would deliberately starve millions of people living trapped under an illegal siege as a continuation of decades and decades of suffocating oppression, apartheid, and occupation.
Now, as you can see there, the crowd was really fired up. After they quietened down a bit, Greta Thunberg continued.
What we aim to do with the global civil flotilla was to step up when our governments failed to do their legal obligation. Our governments are talking about ensuring human rights and the importance of getting humanitarian aid into Gaza while failing to do their part and while failing to even the bare minimum ensuring safety for this mission.
There have been numerous reports of the flotilla activists suffering cruel treatment at the hands of Israel. Greta Thunberg and other detainees were reportedly deprived of food and water and subjected to other cruel treatment after Israeli forces illegally detained them in international waters. Journalist and activist Lorenzo D'Agostino was released in an earlier round of detainees being deported. He said this after landing in Turkey.
Greta Thunberg, a brave woman who is only 22 years old, she was humiliated and wrapped in an Israeli flag and exhibited like a trophy. I had the feeling of being in a really barbaric place, and I really hope that this barbarism might be over soon.
The Swedish Foreign Ministry sent an email to people close to Greta Thunberg after one of their officials visited her in detention. It said she informed us of dehydration. She has received insufficient amounts of both water and food. She also stated that she had developed rashes, which she suspects were caused by bedbugs. She spoke of harsh treatment and said she had been sitting for long periods on hard surfaces. Another detainee reportedly told another embassy that they had seen her being forced to hold flags while pictures were taken. She wondered whether images of her had been distributed. And the details of how Greta and other detainees were treated is obviously the subject of intense interest. But Greta herself and the activists she landed with said they didn't want that to divert attention from the much greater suffering that Israel is inflicting on people in Gaza.
I could talk for a very, very long time about our mistreatment and abuses in our imprisonment, trust me, but that is not the story. What happened here was that Israel, while continuing to worsen and escalate their genocide and mass destruction with genocidal intent, attempting to erase an entire population, an entire nation in front of our very eyes. They once again violated international law by preventing humanitarian aid from getting into Gaza while people are being starved.
Israel's foreign ministry has said 138 of the flotilla activists are still in detention. Among those who are now free is Novara Media's Kieran Andreou, who was welcomed home by a jubilant crowd at Heathrow. He gave an interview in Turkey during a layover on his way back to the UK.
Israel tried to put us in prisoner clothes, but we were not prisoners, we were captives, we were hostages. And that's what Israel does to Palestinians every single day. Palestinians like my own brother. And so it was so important for us to join the flotilla and take this stand. They put us in prisoner clothes. Turkey, you gave us real clothes. Thank you so much. For the world, Israel treated us terribly. It denied people essential medicine. One night, yesterday night, we were shouting that someone was possibly having a heart attack. They didn't come, they didn't care. They gave us food that was infested with insects. They subjected some people to torture. One of my friends has just passed out, fainted on the plane because of the exhaustion that they subjected her to. This is how Israel behaves towards Europeans. You can only imagine how it treats Palestinians every single day.
Now, obviously, a great relief to see Kieran back and well. We'll have him back on the show as soon as he's got some rest. Of course, while the flotilla activists described abusive treatment in Israel, closer to home, the Met has continued its mass arrests of peaceful activists opposing the prescription of Palestine action.
It's going to take hours to get all of these people arrested. They'll be here well into the night. And this is what the government thinks of as a good use of police time.
That was just a small part of a longer report from my colleague Stephen Meffin over the weekend, which you can check out on our YouTube. There were at least 449 arrests at that latest act of civil disobedience organised by the campaign group Defend Our Juries. These protests have been happening sometimes weekly, sometimes monthly, regularly anyway, since the ban, which according to Shabana Mahmood means they may be causing something called cumulative disruption. And the Home Secretary told the BBC she plans to grant police new powers to crack down on protests that occur repeatedly in the same place.
I want to make explicit in the law that those types of protests with cumulative disruption for communities can attract the same conditions and restrictions that apply to other types of protests, so that the police have absolute clarity that they can use cumulative disruption as a reason for restricting those protests. And
so she's saying this is a change that will be made sort of generally, changing what the police do consider when allowing or disallowing a protest. And of course, it's hard to escape the conclusion that the new powers are principally intended to target pro-Palestine activists.
And those protests in support of Gazans have been taking place regularly. They have been taking place often in the same sites in our city centres. So do you want to be candid about this and just say you are giving the police the power to ban those particular protests? That's the brass tacks of what you're saying.
So this is not about a ban, this is about restrictions and conditions.
It's unclear how the Met Police Federation chair, Paula Dodds, will feel about the announcement. She seems far from pleased by the strain the force is under as it's called upon to arrest hundreds of peaceful activists every week. She says there aren't enough of us. Hard-working police officers are continually having days off cancelled, working longer shifts and being moved from other areas to facilitate these protests. Our concentration should be on keeping people safe at a time when the country is on heightened alert from a terrorist attack. We are emotionally and physically exhausted. What are politicians and senior police officers going to do about it? An update for you. I see some people in the comments saying what's happened with Ty Hickey. He is in Athens today, so he has been released and is on his way. So he's in Athens, flying home tomorrow. David Adler, I think, was being held for a bit longer, but has been visited. I'll try and get the sort of a key update. As far as I understand it, everyone is, we don't really need to sort of significantly. So David, we think, is okay, not free, is what I'm told. So hopefully he'll be released shortly, and we'd love to get him back on the show to speak about his situation.